Hello and welcome to Qtr Time podcast in partnership with Lovell Netball. I'm Lucy G.
And I'm Lucy P. And we're here to bring you all the netball goodness you never knew you needed. Hello and welcome to a super special bonus episode for the Netball World Cup 2023. This is a Home Nations special where we'll be chatting to Scottish Thistles head coach Tamsin Greenway and vice captain Emily Nicholl, before bringing you our conversation with Welsh Feathers head coach Emily Handyside and midcourt stalwart Clare Jones.
We posted these interviews on our Instagram page, but we thought we'd also share them here just in case any of our listeners don't use Instagram or maybe you just hadn't seen them.
We cover aspirations, progress, professionalisation in Scotland and Wales, developing coaches, international match play opportunities, and so much more. Here are our full conversations. Take a listen. So welcome, Tamsin and Emily. Great to have you with us. Emily, we'll come to you first. Tough defeat to Tonga. But aside from that, how much are you loving life at the Netball World Cup at the moment?
Yeah, I think, netball, the Netball World Cup is the pinnacle for any netballer, and I absolutely love coming against the different styles. And the back-to-back is when things don't go your way, you get that chance to learn and pick yourself up for the next game.
Yeah, exactly. And how about you, Tamsin, your overall impression?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to be playing against so many different nations, having a crack at England and Australia. You don't get those opportunities in the normal netball season. So that's been fantastic. And just really see the learning and the processes that the players, our Thistles, our young group have put in across the week. I mean, it's a roller coaster. It's frustrating at times, but I love working with them because, you can see hopefully the passion that's shining through and actually this willingness to want to get better.
Yeah, you can. You absolutely can, particularly in the game today, just that real fight and resilience that your side showed. And Scotland finished 10th at the last Netball World Cup in 2019 and 9th at the Commonwealth Games last year, beating Northern Ireland in that 9th-10th playoff. And you were third in your pool at the World Cup this year and have played Australia and Tonga so far in the second round. Looking at your results overall, Tamsin, how pleased are you with the progress of your team since that Commonwealth Games last year?
Yeah, I think you've seen, I know everyone loves to talk about numbers, right? So you've seen definite deficits in scorelines, which is great. I think for me, it's not necessarily about the deficit, it's about how we're playing and being able to use 12 players, which I think we've done through this week. Look, we've been realistic. In that first round, we came here to challenge Malawi. We did it. We almost got across the line. We came here to beat Barbados. We did that. And we came here to practice against some England. Same with Australia. Challenged Tonga today, which we did. Wasn't quite enough to get over the line. But, we want to go out and beat Fiji. So we're sitting in that 9th, 10th. We are not unrealistic about where we sit in the world at the moment. I think the whole point when I keep going on about performances, there's no magic wand. So what I don't want to be is a Zimbabwe, for example, set the world alight in 2019 at Liverpool and finish 8th and now be playing in the bottom group at the World Cup. That's just not what it's about. If you're serious about growth and performance, you have to build a group, you have to put in a program behind the scenes, and you have to expect that you're not always going to get the instant results that you want. But as long as you keep pushing forward, then you're on the right path.
Yeah, and you mentioned they're putting in a program behind the scenes. Obviously, one thing that has developed in Scotland is the new National League. So you've been vocal about wanting to develop the consistent domestic competition within Scotland in order to just provide that pathway and playing opportunities for upcoming Thistles who are yet to take the Super League stage. Have you seen an impact from the development of the National League so far in your tenure?
Yeah, look, when I came into this group, we had players going to the last World Cup that hadn't stepped on a Super League court. And we've got the same here. 5 players don't play in Super League? 6 players maybe? And then a couple of others that are in Super League, but Emma, Barry and Beth Goodwin share court time. So, how you're supposed to attack gaps is huge. So behind the scenes, Karen Atkinson, Claire Nelson, they've done incredible jobs in terms of putting in a program and a system that gets our players playing more. And I know when I speak to all the nations, your Fijis, all these teams have got the same thing. Some are playing and some aren't. So you've got to recognise that if you want a long-term program. And I think that's starting to show with players stepping out on the court, but also believing in them, like Rach and Keris, our 2 goalkeepers, are playing against some incredible shooters. They are getting better every single time they step out on the court. So that was something I was most passionate about. We've got to start closing this gap. And I also think nations like England have got to help us as well. Wouldn't it be beneficial for them to have a neighbouring nation, us and Wales, hitting them with sort of only losing by 12 to 15 goals. If we can close that gap at this point and get all 12 players on, I think it'd be so helpful for them. And I think they're missing a real trick at the moment, not investing in some of the older England coaches, but also, the neighbouring nations. And I think what I've seen here, the Kiwis and Aussies are doing that with their neighbouring nations. And I'd love England to do the same.
Yeah, no, completely agree on that. And we've talked time and time again about the challenges facing netball in terms of professionalisation. And more often than not, it often comes down to the financial side of things, unfortunately. But Tamsin, how far away are Scotland from having a professional full-time programme for the Thistles?
Look, none of our players are getting paid. They are literally working full-time in full-time education. It's like the England programme 10 years ago. And yet I'm asking them, me and Sarah actually were chatting about this, we're actually asking them to do what we had to do, first of all, as English athletes. You know what, there again, there's no magic wand for that. Clare Nelson did a brilliant job in terms of commercialising. I think as a brand, we've really put our message out there and what the Thistles want to be, and we're trying to share and show who we're all about. That will come in time, but you're going to have this middle group that are going to have to do it without that for now. And eventually you would hope that stuff would come. But that's where I think England could be far more supportive, not with actual money, but putting in programmes where our juniors can play in their NPL competitions. And, we can start looking at how much practice time we get. What can we do with Netball Europe that will make it far more beneficial? Because no one's going to throw cash at us. We get that. These guys are doing exactly what they need to be doing. The programme at the SIS is starting to work, but it is going to take some time.
Yeah, and Emily, you're obviously vice-captain of the Thistles and one of the most experienced and capped players in the side. How have you seen Netball Scotland evolve during your time?
Yeah, I think it's been massive, especially since Tamsin's come in. I think it's been a real shift mentally with where we want to get to. And, as Tamsin said, we've got Rachel and Keris, the goalkeepers, they're so young and they put out some outstanding performances, winning clean ball off the Aussies. I'm so proud of them. And, you say, I'm the most experienced, I still only have, 40-something caps. Me and Bethan are the next most capped under Brownie. So, personally, I still have so much growth. And if I look at myself individually from the last World Cup to now, I don't build those people are charged down the sidelines, I'd like to think. So there's been a huge step. So I think if you look at these young ones and then myself, I'm not going anywhere, hopefully. So in the next 4 years, I totally believe that, again, we can take that step up. But as Tamsin say, I don't want us to have this one amazing moment now and then we just dwindle away. I really believe that we can step up and stay there and be a world champ. And I said yesterday, I think we actually do have some of the best structure in the world. We don't have those crazy athletic people, but actually it's our strength and our full team, and the structures we put out there can really take it to teams as well.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just about that cohesive, playing as a team in those individual units, being able to stand up and perform for 60 minutes. And you obviously have attended numerous World Cups, 2 World Cups I think now, and 2 Commonwealth Games. What's the personal significance for you of being part of the Thistles for such a long time?
Yeah, I think most people know I'm an absolute netball nut, so any chance I get to come here and just play against the best, I want to test myself. When I can get a deflection off the Australians or something like that's the highlight. I absolutely love it, because I also want to really improve and I want to continue to be the best player that I can be. So when I go against them or someone beats me in a front cut, I then want to then analyse that and how I can get better. But being part of the Thistles as a special group, I particularly think this 12 that we've got now and the players back home, we are building something special, and I want to be there. I want to be part of that journey. I want to be driving it at the forefront. And I am really ambitious as an individual, and we're trying to drive that and create that culture. And I think that if we keep doing the work in the background, I think we can really get there. And we've shown a bit of that, but we still are young. We still trip up, but we can really push on.
Yeah, and you are actually the youngest team on average in the competition with an average age of 23.92, apparently, according to my stats sheet. But you've obviously got a lot of young talent coming through, Tamsin. Who are some of those leaders that you think are going to be really changing the scene for Scotland over the next years on the world stage?
I think Keris Finn and Emma Barry, we can't shy away from those two, can we? Just purely because you need a target shooter that's going to score from anywhere. She's more than capable of doing that, Baz, and I think she's shown that. I think people forget with Baz because they saw her when she was so young. But actually behind the scenes, what she's had to deal with, injuries, long-term injuries as well. We've had to manage her load, so she hasn't been able to train. Sitting on the bench at Sirens hasn't been helpful for this year, and I think hopefully over the next few seasons you'll see movement from some of the Scottish players as well, which will develop. Keris Finn, she's cool as a cucumber. She's done so much not only on the court but in terms of the culture, what she adds to it. And I think this is what I was saying to these guys, that needed to shift. There needs to be this we're not happy just being 10th to 12th in the world. What else are we going to do about that? So I think we've got some really exciting talent, and we believed in doing that. I know it was a longer term fix. We could have done what some of the other nations have done and brought in some big names and gone for quick fixes. My always concern with everything is, what's the long-term gain or goal of any of that stuff? What are we doing for this for? What message does that send to the rest of the group? How do we actually perceive and go? And actually, we can hold our heads high in this competition. We're competing. We're not getting over the line, but we're competing with such a young, talented group that can go 2 or 3 more cycles. You only have to look at Malawi, what they've been 6th at the World Cup for the last 3. Some of those players were there when I was still playing. Now that's not a problem, but who are the youngsters that we're coming through that we're sort of talking about? And I think that's where we will have the upper hand come the next couple of cycles.
Yeah, do you agree with that, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these young players are putting out outstanding performances, and we are challenging. We had a 15-11 quarter against Australia.
That'll be on a grave.
Yeah, I said that I was going to
remember that time. Remember that time.
Yeah, but in 4 years' time, it will be opposite way in favour of us. So yeah, we're looking to take them a quarter off them next time. But yeah, we are really challenging teams. We absolutely have it. Even against England, I think we had, say, 10 missed shots. Next time we play them in 4 years' time, maybe that won't be the case, and it will be that 15 goal margin. We will be pushing them. And some of these players, they've not had the Super League experience yet, and when they then have that on a week in, week out basis, we can see such growth, because we've seen just quarter to quarter here the difference between playing Australia in the first quarter to the last quarter, how quickly they learn. So imagine if they get seasons under their belt where they really learn how to do that.
Yeah, of course. And obviously the benefit of a World Cup is coming up against so many different styles of opposition. Tamsin, do you feel that the current netball calendar gives you enough match play against a variety of sides?
No. Look, here's the reality, and this is what I keep going on about. There's pros and cons to all of us sitting between those 6 and 12. So one of the pros of the African nations, don't get me wrong, they have a lot to deal with in terms of, you want to talk about funding, go and talk to those guys. It's not good for them at all, but they can play each other a lot, right? Which helps their rankings. So when they do the African nations, and they can play a lot against each other. The Pacific Games, it's been brilliant for all the Pacific teams, and that's what I'm saying about, what are England doing? What are we doing as Netball Europe that is going to be beneficial to us? Because actually we're stronger together, and you've got to take note. I find it quite interesting, people's perceptions here. People going, oh my God, what were Australia doing that Malawi stayed in a game with them for half a game? I'm like, playing netball. Yeah. We don't want the really blow open games where everyone moans about the World Cup and says, oh no, we want closer competition. But then the minute a team is close to the top team, it's like, oh, they're rubbish. They're never going to win the World Cup. Sack the coach, do this, do that. It's absolutely outrageous. Uganda are getting better. Malawi have been in the mix for a very, very long time. You keep putting funding and give opportunity to some of these teams, like what we're doing, we will challenge you. No, we're not going to beat England tomorrow. But as I said, a 10-goal game against England will make things very different and interesting for them and for us. And I think we have to keep looking at how World Netball support those teams, how the calendar works for all of us. And if we are serious about the sport, stop worrying about you winning, believe in your program and you'll win. And let's take 12 to 15 teams with us so our World Cup can be celebrated just the way the female football World Cup is at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what everyone's working toward, isn't it? And at the end of the day, that's what we want, is for netball to be the real winner. But just one last question for you, Tamsin. What's the key ambition for Scotland in the next cycle?
I think we have to look, rankings are a thing. They have to be a thing. This is why I'm so vocal about rankings, right? Because commercially they matter. So if we go back to a sponsor and go, oh, we're 7th in the world, they go, oh, brilliant, yeah, I'll take that. But I can't explain to them that we might be 10th because we perhaps don't have as much opportunity against these teams or that teams, or they played each other more. So the ranking thing still needs to be important for us, and we need to get some opportunity in the next 4 years. That's where Karen Atkinson and Claire Nelson have been brilliant in terms of going, right, go on tour to South Africa, play Zimbabwe, see what happens, ask Wales and Northern Ireland to play each other more rather than playing Isle of Man and Gibraltar 3 or 4 times. Yes, we need to help them as well, but we need to be smarter, all of us, about the calendar. So that'd be the big thing with rankings for me. And as this group, keep this group together, get them more Super League time. I think physically they need to look different. I've said this, look across the teams today and look where we look. We look 23.9 average age at the moment, and that's a training thing. So that is something I'll be taking home to make sure we work on. and that will come with the match play, with the training stuff at home. And behind the scenes, we'll keep pushing our brand, because if we push our brand, hopefully we'll get more commercial interest. You get that, you get some more money, things start to change for everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much for spending the time today, and good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
So, Luce, the Netball World Cup is here, and as you know, I simply could not be more excited.
Oh, mate, tell me about it. It's the biggest event of the netball calendar. And what better way to show your support for the Roses than by heading to lovellnetball.co.uk and picking yourself up some of the Roses fanwear?
Oh, of course. And I actually have this, this is a bit embarrassing, but I have this weird superstition that when I watch England play, I have to be wearing some kind of kit, like a top or a hoodie or something. Otherwise, I convince myself that if they don't win, it was all my fault.
Oh my God, that is literally insane. But at least you and our listeners can get 15% off at lovellnetball.co.uk with the code NETPOD15 until the end of August.
Amazing. Happy shopping, guys.
So a big welcome to Emily Handyside and Clare Jones. Thanks so much for coming to join us today. So looking at the 2023 Netball World Cup, your campaign has been a difficult, yet I would say a positive one. You've had 4 losses and 1 win so far. So Clare, I'll come to you first. How are you finding the experience as a whole?
I think the experience for us has been hugely positive. Up until today, we were exactly on task to where we wanted to be in these stages. Obviously disappointed with the win today. It was a team that we were hugely targeting, but actually going forward, we've got a winnable match tomorrow, which we're really looking forward to, and then we're just taking one game at a time for now.
Yeah, and Emily, how are you finding it?
Yeah, I think Claire summarised it. We're disappointed that we couldn't get over the line today, particularly because it was one of our best performances. When we look at our stats, how much possession we had, that was improved. But fair play to Uganda, they were incredibly clinical and it was really hard to get ball from them. So mixed emotions, because we were better today, but it wasn't enough to get over the line. But we're just staying focused on the fact that we're getting better each game, and tomorrow is crunch time.
Yeah, and tomorrow's a new day, so who knows what's possible. And looking at the World Cup as a whole, there's been a lot of talk online and in the media about certain organisational, security and ticketing concerns so far in the World Cup. So as a competing nation, what's your experience been like from that perspective, Emily?
We've been given a security team and they take us everywhere. They've been absolutely fantastic. We feel well taken care of. They've met all of our needs, so absolutely no complaints from that perspective.
Yeah, and Wales, I think if you look at the groups and the pooling, in our opinion, they have the group of death, and you've come up against South Africa, Jamaica, New Zealand and Uganda, as well as Sri Lanka, of course, in the first 6 days of the competition. So from a player loading and conditioning perspective, for a country that doesn't yet have a full-time programme in particular, it's a really significant challenge. So Emily, what's your approach been to player loading?
Well, obviously there's a long-term approach. We've been working hard to get these girls fit and conditioned, not just this year. It's been a big part of the Welsh programme for a long time, and many of these athletes are as fit as the professional athletes, and they're backing up really well. They're actually telling me they feel fresh, and some games we had identified that we might use it to get players off and manage their load, and they're telling us, no, don't take us off, we're feeling good, which is a sign of the hard work they've been doing prior to getting here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's amazing to hear. That's pretty incredible. And, it was always going to be a bit of an uphill battle with the opposition that you've come up against to get the wins on the board. So what are your measures of success for this Netball World Cup?
Yeah, we're not going to shy away from the fact that we said we wanted to beat Uganda, and we're still targeting Trinidad and Tobago. Apart from the outcome, we've got KPIs that we need to achieve on our possession, on our shooting, how much turnover we can gain, but also we've spoken a lot about the immeasurable stuff, how we conduct ourselves, our values, how we compete, because we're not just representing ourselves, we're representing Wales as a whole, and it's really important that we compete with pride and professionalism and integrity all the way through.
And what's your thoughts on that, Claire, from a player and the standards that you hold yourself to?
Oh, I think Emily summarised it beautifully. The way we conduct ourselves off court is hugely influential to then how we conduct ourselves on court. So the camaraderie that we have amongst ourselves, that goes on to our on-court relationships, which is hugely important when you're put in those pressurised scenarios, and when you're really having to problem solve on court. All that off-court work, our training, etc., that we've done within our block, not just this year, but the 4 years leading to this, that's all been contributing to our performances so far.
Yeah, and I think you can absolutely see that on court. The connectivity is really there. You guys seem to have a really great vibe in camp, so I think you can absolutely see that. And Wales have made some really fantastic progress in recent years, and a number of the Feathers players have really blossomed, particularly in the last few Netball Super League seasons. Yourself included, Claire, Bethan, Ella Powell-Davies in particular, some others, to name just a few. But as yet, you don't have a full-time professional programme. So how far off do you think Wales are from having that set up?
It's definitely an aspiration. I think what we need is for the Super League to go professional and for our athletes to be training full-time with their Super League clubs. Ultimately, when it gets to that stage, the national programme won't need to be full-time. If you look at other sports, you generally don't have full-time national programmes. The athletes are professional and contracted to their professional clubs. So in the meantime, we will provide as much training as we can to complement what they're currently doing, but we're fully in support of that Super League environment becoming professional.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we look at your journey to the World Cup, we saw some major changes to the Feathers after the Netball World Cup qualifiers, with Susie Drain, the former captain, stepping down and retiring. Sarah Moore stepped down as head coach to focus on what was her dual role at the time of head of elite for Wales Netball, and of course your appointment, Emily. That's quite a lot of change in a short period of time, just before the biggest event of the netball calendar. So Claire, from your perspective, what's the run-up to the Netball World Cup been like with those changes that I've mentioned, and how have the playing group adapted?
I think it's been pretty seamless. As you mentioned, we've had a lot of change to contend with, but that again emphasises how special this environment is. This hasn't been about us preparing just for a year for this World Cup to happen. This has been essentially 8 years, and if you look at the 8 years, we've probably had to contend with a few changes along the way as well. So that's all part of being an athlete, is being able to manage change, know what you need to do within that change, but more so as a playing group, that's where we come back to our values, what's important for our group. And so then when we do have changes, whether it's from management or players, actually there's a solid group of players that have been there consistently that can emphasise those values. And it's very clear how important they are for players, management to also pick up on those and strive them forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Emily, from your perspective, obviously you came in shortly before the World Cup. That's a relatively short time period for you to prepare. How have you found the change?
Yeah, look, there's been some challenges. I started in January and several of the players were contracted for Super League clubs, so we didn't actually get to work together as a full squad until 5 weeks before the World Cup. And when I say 5 weeks, that's 5 weekends and a couple of sessions. So that's not how you imagine taking on your first head coach role. However, I recognise that many head coaches have similar challenges. And one of the conscious decisions I made was to keep the same leadership group in place just to support that transition. And I think the four of them handled that really well, and it's been as seamless as it can be.
And we've seen as part of the coaching group to support you that Raina Bloxham has been appointed as a specialist coach, who coaches over in New Zealand in the ANZ Premiership. And Raina's one of a long line of Kiwis and Aussies to be involved in Welsh netball, including the likes of Melissa Bessel, Tanya Hoffman. So Emily, can you talk to us about the influence that our friends overseas have had on Welsh netball?
Yeah, obviously Raina's a class coach. She's got lots of experience from down in the ANZ, and it's great to have that experience to bounce off. She's a defence specialist coach, and it's been really great to have her input, and really that style plays to our strengths. We don't have 6'6" defenders. We just have the average 6 foot defenders. So really it's playing to our strengths and trying to win ball out the front and flat ball rather than aerial ball. And that Kiwi style has been really influential for us.
Yeah, and Raina's input and those who came before her is no doubt invaluable to the development of netball in Wales, both from a player development perspective, but also from a coaching one. So can you talk to us about what you've learned from having Raina in the camp and how she's helping to shape your coaching journey?
Yeah, look, she is really experienced, but I have worked with many coaches in my other role. I'm a coach developer. I work with Olympic and Paralympic coaches, and I take something from every single coach. What have I taken from Curly? She's really good. She's quite intuitive. She notices the emotional side, the emotional tone, as well as the stats. So often in a debrief, I'll talk about stats, and she'll really hone into how people are feeling. So it's really great that she brings back that side of it, the people side of it, because that can be a hard one for me to remember when I'm busy looking at post-match reports.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got so much to contend with. It's great to have that support there for you. And if looking again at your journey to the World Cup, we can't help but acknowledge the fact that Wales obviously didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2019, but you went into this World Cup undefeated at qualifiers. So Claire, as a member of the 2018 Commonwealth Games squad, who then didn't qualify in 2019, how much does it mean to you to be here in 2023 on behalf of your country?
Oh, it's everything. You know, it's moments like this that you train for. It's why you get up so early. It's why you balance, you know, work, athlete life, etc. It's having your name on the back of your dress, that you are representing your family, your friends, your teammates, the coaches that have given you opportunities to get to where you are. When we didn't qualify, it was heartbreaking, and it's an important part of our journey that we do still talk about, but now we're able to talk about the learnings from that and a place where we never want to go back. The World Cup qualifiers were incredible, you know, but it didn't just start there. Our Commonwealth Games campaign last year was hugely important to put that statement out on World Netball to say that we're here and we're here to compete. The World Cup qualifiers, then we had to back up our performance. And then again, it's been about actually now what can we do? How else can we back our performances up? And I think so far we can be really pleased with what we've done.
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's been fantastic to watch you all. And looking forward to the future, Emily, what's the key ambition for Wales as we enter the next cycle?
Our aspiration is to push into top 6 at some point in the near future. It's really key that somebody in Europe does that. So I know Scotland are trying to do the same as well. And I think that rivalry will be really key. We'll push each other, as will Northern Ireland. We'll push each other and one of us will come out on top. But that's definitely the aspiration, is to be competing and beating the African teams that are currently ranked above us.
Lovely. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Qtr Time Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the pod and follow us on social media at Qtr Time Pod for the latest netball updates. Do get involved in the conversation online by letting us know what you thought of the matches throughout the World Cup and which players really stood out for you. We genuinely love hearing from you, so do get in touch.
We have one more live podcast coming up, and it will be today on Saturday, 5th of August at 8:30 p.m. South Africa time. So that's 7:30 in the UK. We record via Twitter Spaces, so head to @Qtr Time Pod for all the details.
Finally, we'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate and review, as it helps other people to find the podcast. If you enjoy listening to the pod, please do let us know, and do spread the word with your netball pals so that even more people can get involved. Don't forget as well to take advantage of our exclusive 15% discount with Lovell Netball by entering the code NETPOD15 at the checkout at lovellnetball.co.uk. Take care everyone, and see you soon. Bye!
Bye!